Microsoft Teams is one of the most popular communication platforms available on the market today, being used by countless organizations and companies across the world. Mobility is often a must for many workers, and with that comes added requirements for the communication tools that we use on a daily basis. As a company using Microsoft Teams, the necessity to answer a call anywhere or to carry a conversation with you means that Microsoft Teams must become mobile. This is where Spectralink comes in. Spectralink has worked with Microsoft and integrated Spectralink IP DECT with Teams SIP gateway, allowing users to become truly mobile within their organization. I'm Ebbe Jorgensen from Spectralink, and in this video I will demonstrate how to easily get started using Spectralink IP DECT with Microsoft Teams. For the demo, I'm going to use a demo kit from Spectralink. However, it's also possible to use this on any existing Spectralink IP DECT installation if you already have a Microsoft account, Microsoft Teams, and an existing Spectralink IP DECT installation. Now let's take a look at the box content for Microsoft Teams with Spectralink. So first we have the IP DECT server 400 with a power supply. We also have an IP DECT base station with power supply. Then we have a couple of DECT handsets with handset cradles and power supplies. We have one patch cable. And finally we have one USB stick with software and documentation. Along with this we have one laptop where we have our Teams client, and we also use the laptop to manage the IP DECT server 400, and all this connects to a power over Ethernet switch, and that allows us to leave out the power supplies for the IP DECT server 400 and the IP DECT base station. And it also allows us to leave out the power supplies for the handsets because the handsets are already fully charged. And when it's all put together, we have this simplified setup for Microsoft Teams test with Spectralink. To the left we have Microsoft with the Teams SIP gateway that we communicate with on the right side, where we have the DECT equipment, namely the IP DECT server 400, the IP DECT base station, and they both connect to the PoE switch. And we also have the laptop with our Teams client. And finally we have the DECT handsets that we subscribe to the IP DECT server 400. And now let's put it all together. So here we have our entire setup. We have here the IP DECT server 400, which is up and running. You can tell that by the green LED. Next we have the IP DECT base station. It still needs a little bit of configuration and we will deal with that later. Here we have two DECT handsets, and we'll use one of them to subscribe to the DECT server we have here. We have the switch here, and finally we have the laptop over here with our Teams client running. So what I will do now is I will take this handset and I will now turn it on. So now the handset is turned on, and the first thing we see is that it's ready to auto-subscribe to the IP DECT server. And we do this by typing in the last 4 digits of the ARI number. So I'll type in 5624, like this. And now I wait for the handset to subscribe to the IP DECT server 400. There we go. The onboarding process is now complete, and we can now see that we have the Teams logo in the handset. So the next thing that is going to happen is that I press the menu key again, I choose Microsoft Teams, and I choose Sign In. And the handset now requests a web sign-in, which we can see here in the handset display. And I need to type in this pairing code using my browser on my computer to get the handset finally onboarded. I open up a browser and go to login.microsoftonline.com. And here I enter the pairing code that I received on the handset. I click Next. I choose my own account. And then I click Continue to sign in to Teams SIP gateway. So now we have onboarded the DECT handset, and we are now ready to make a test call using the handset here and the Teams client on this laptop that we have here. And for this purpose I'm going to use a different DECT handset that we have here. So this handset is registered on a simple SIP line, and I'm going to make a call from the handset and make sure that not only the Teams client is responding, but also the handset that we just onboarded. So I'm making the call now. And we can see that the Teams client is responding as well as the DECT handset. So I'm going to pick up on the Teams client. And here we can see that we are having the call going on. So I'll hang up and then I'll make the call one more time. And this time I will pick up on the DECT handset. And we can see the Teams client is responding as well as the handset, and I'm going to pick up on the handset. And we can see that the Teams client hangs up, but now I have the call going on the handset instead of the Teams client. So I'll hang up here, and that concludes the test. Now before we finish, I will take a look at the IP DECT server 400 user interface, and we're going to see that we created a user profile when we did the onboarding. And we're also going to fix this little issue that we have with the IP DECT base station here and make sure that it gets up and running. I will log in here. And we can see on the quick status that everything is up and running. We can see here under users that we have one user profile that we created during the onboarding process. And under the zip section, you can see domain, proxy, display name, authentication user, and authentication password. All this information is being provisioned when we do the onboarding. So this is not something that you as a user have to type in. It's all being provisioned. And this is what we saw during the onboarding process. It's very easy to get Spectralink DECT up and running with Microsoft Teams. Let's take a check. Now let's take a look at the IP DECT base station here. We go to administration and then base station. As we can see here, it's currently disabled. So I'm going to click on that base station and then uncheck the disabled checkbox here and then hit the save button. Now we have to wait a few seconds, and then eventually the base station will come up and running. And there you go. Now it's turned green, and if we hit the refresh button here, we can see that the check mark has changed to green. That's it. Thank you for watching, and enjoy working with Spectralink DECT and Microsoft Teams.